I'm Jayapalashri from Samskara Healing. A warm welcome to you all for this live session. I thank you all as you join in. We're going to watch in later. I thank you all. I thank you all for being part of this session. As I said in my last video, which was yesterday, that I was doing a series of sessions and I was going to be speaking about certain aspects. This is my series 2 of what I'm doing, or live session 2, however you'd like to see. So in my previous session, I spoke about Ravana, and I also spoke about the traits we carry, the 10 aspects. Just to kind of give you a brief of what we spoke and what it was about the 10 aspects that we were speaking about. Was kama, which is lust, krodha, which is anger, moha, which is delusion, lobha, which is greed. And then we spoke about medha, the pride, matsyasya, which is envy, manas, mind, chitta, will, buddhi, intellect, and ahamkara, the ego. When I spoke about this, I said that how we have this and how at times it becomes the very root cause for our own destruction and impact that it causes in our life. So as I was speaking about all that yesterday, I take my conversation ahead with you all today, pertaining to the same conversation that I had yesterday. And this morning as well as this afternoon, I was talking to a couple of my students saying that I was doing this live session and I was talking about Ravana, and I was talking about the impact of him in our life and how do we perceive him. I was quite surprised that I didn't have any resistance. There was more of reciprocation, and I was also equally surprised to know that, like me, they realized that there was a lot of metaphor with the concept of understanding Ravana. I was really touched and impressed. I am not I'm not patronizing something here. It's an important lesson for you and me. And on that concept, I was just generally talking. And the reason why I talk to students, especially if I'm coming on a live session, is it's good for me to know what people are thinking. It really helps me to put forth the points in the right way, and also kind of guide you all the right way on how it needs to be done and what needs to be done. So it becomes that much easy for me. So I was anyway talking to them, and I wanted to see what's their viewpoints and what's their thoughts and how do they perceive this. In fact, my meditation got delayed by half an hour because we got into a very detailed conversation about various aspects of Ravana and how many things have been misinterpreted and how we see it in the wrong way. So to continue with my conversation of where I left off yesterday, yes, I did speak about these 10 aspects, which are the 10 faces of Ravana, which is depicted. And I did speak about how Lord Rama came in to, I wouldn't say to kill Ravana, it was more to kill these 10 aspects. Because like what is said in Gita by Lord Krishna, a soul can never be destroyed, killed, burnt, or harmed. All that is done is to the body, and the body is the place where all this is held. And we are stuck in the illusions, which is called the Maya. So if you look at it that way, I strongly believe Lord Rama came to release the soul from its getting stuck in these aspects. So anyway, now I'm moving on with what we were speaking about, and the interesting fact that I would like to pick on today is how much we are conditioned. And as I move ahead, I would also like to say what kind of conditioning is conditioning. I grew up hearing to Ramayan. The first time I ever heard Ramayan, I was about 5 years old, and lying down, it was just around the Dasara time when I first heard it, when my father told me the story. And I wept when I heard that Like this Ravan came and abducted our Sita Mata and taken her to his kingdom, and how Rama went searching and he was upset, our Lord Rama, and how the Vanar Sena came and how they helped him, and how the wall, the bridge was built, and things like that. So I was a big fan of the Vanar Sena because they were helping Lord Rama, and I really felt very sorry for Lord Rama that I was only 5 years old, so it was a child. So I really felt sorry for Lord Rama. I didn't see him as a god, but I thought of what pain he must have gone through. And I don't know what a 5-year-old should be thinking, but that's what I was thinking. And I was very angry. And I said, I don't like this man. He's so bad. Why did he do that to this lady? Poor lady. And I really cried and I was so upset. And I couldn't sleep the whole night because I kept thinking that Ravana will come and take one of us away because it was a threat. So I was really very scared, and of course my parents had a tough time to kind of calm me down and say there's nothing that's going to happen and it's only a story and everything. I grew up listening to it. I grew up believing that, we portrayed him as a demon. But the fact is, he's a half Brahmin too. His father, was sage Vishrava, and his mother was the demon who was Kaikeshi. But he was more known, and I'll get into the details later, but we all see him more as the demon than the sage, that side of it, which is kind of many people ignore and they don't want to even acknowledge. Every time there is this time of Dasara, a lot of messages come, and a lot of things come where you have these long messages with, you need to let go of these negative things, think about the 10 aspects of Ravan, and these need to be removed, and this needs to be replaced with this, allow this to come. A lot of these kind of messages come, and we kind of get a lot of messages. Some of them we resonate, some of them we don't. We just forward some messages. We know it's there, but we don't acknowledge it. We don't understand it. We don't go in deep into the details of it. So today what I'm talking about is the conditioning that we all go through. So we've grown up, I'm talking about myself here, knowing that this is good, this is bad, and you always stay with the good and you do not acknowledge the bad. And I did that all my life. And I think I did it at least sometime of my adulthood, where I never kind of acknowledged the bad and I always acknowledged the good. But when I started understanding, when I started moving on the path of spirituality and reading various philosophical books and some of our Vedic scriptures and things like that, I realized that what I'm thinking is my own perception of what I view the world. And when I'm not ready to acknowledge a demon who is the Ravan, how am I even going to acknowledge the Ram, which is also out there? It's very difficult. Only if you acknowledge the good can you acknowledge the bad, or only if you acknowledge the bad can you acknowledge the good. You just cannot acknowledge the fact that there's this and that's not there. It's good and bad are opposites, so light and dark are opposites. So if there is light, there's darkness. If there's good, there's bad, and it's there. But we are so conditioned, we are so programmed. We do not want to acknowledge the bad, and we just portray it as bad. But even the bad has good qualities which we fail to see. Unfortunately, we've come into a society where we believe that acknowledging certain things makes us move into a space where we may not get acknowledged by others. It is a debatable topic. You could come out and say, what on earth are you speaking? I understand, and I would listen to you, because it is your perception against my perception, and that's all about it. But we are talking about Ravan kidnapping, Sita, and trying to force her into marriage and all those kind of things. I ask you, in reality, we, on this day of where there are many, like during Dasara and a lot of effigies of Ravana are kind of put up and they're burnt, and praises are sung for Lord Rama, for his victory, for everything. So basically it is a victory over evil, where the day there is victory given. A lot of things are done. But in a society where we live, many times, this becomes a controversial conversation, like I said, but it is questionable. We are ready to acknowledge the Ravan outside, but are you ready to acknowledge the Ravan who's within you? Are you ready to acknowledge the Ravan who flares up and can cause a lot of destruction and harm into the society? Have you acknowledged that part of you? It's very easy to follow and go to the temple and do things, but have you put that demon within you to rest? It's an important question, and I leave you with that question today. And I will take it forward where I'm speaking more about Ravan, but I want this question to be thought of because it's an important question. It can become a conversation where I'm speaking, because if our society is not ready to acknowledge the Ravan, which is still very much there in our society, and I'm not talking about the good aspects of Ravan, I'm talking about the bad aspects of Ravan, where he was the demon, and I'm only addressing that aspect here today. And if I was addressing that demon, which is very much there in the society today, have each and every one of you addressed and acknowledged it? Let's forget about the good part. The good part, I will come to it eventually. But I want to know, have you accepted? Have you acknowledged? Have you looked at it? Have you said, this demon needs to be put to rest? We are not ready to say that, but we are ready to call it a demon. We are ready to say that, how can you even acknowledge a demon? If you don't acknowledge the demon, there are many Sitas out there getting into trouble. There was not only one Sita Mata who's got into trouble and was taken to Lanka. A lot of things are happening out there which has not been acknowledged. So when we get into these points, and when we start getting into depth of breaking it up and reading, you will understand that even Ravan was a good man. He did something, yes, and I will come to that tomorrow. But I end my talk today with saying, yes, that he was a demon, but he was also a good man. But before I even move to the aspects of talking about his goodness and his aspects of the other part of him, since everybody only know the bad aspects and all only point out at the bad aspects, I want to ask you, have you addressed it in your life? And have you looked into it? And with that, I end this conversation, and I will come again live tomorrow. This is going to be my series 3, and I ask you to subscribe to my channel, like my page, stay connected to see the flow of events. And if you have questions, I want the questions to come to me so that I will be able to make another series and give answers to it. I'm keeping it pretty short, simple, and I want it to be reciprocative. So like I said, I spoke to some of my students today and I came up with this, which I've addressed today. I'm hoping to talk about the good aspects tomorrow, but nevertheless, if some questions come up, I want to bring it in, integrate it, and come out with more answers for you. So I thank you, and I wish you a wonderful evening. Take care, and I shall see you tomorrow. So until then, take care. Lots of love. Namaste.